You mean to tell me that our veterans get one day and the LGBTQLM never-ending alphabet community gets an entire month? This alphabet soup community, everybody's got a problem, everybody has a feeling, I'm non-binary, I'm a fish today, you know, and I feel like you're not respecting my fish pronouns. Trust the science, trust the experts, la la la, we got it. And you wonder, what's that got to do with the trans agenda? What's that got to do with the LGBTQIA never-ending month, the non-binary fishes that are walking around? What's that got to do with COVID? What's that got to do with the bathroom signs? What's that got to do with feminism? And the answer is simple. Family.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all's good wherever you are. In this video, we have Candace Owens at her latest Turning Point USA speech. She absolutely crushed it. Let's get into it.
Hello. What's up, America? Christ is King. I love you guys. Yes, that is the energy. You know what? One thing I'm really bad at is being canceled. I am just not good at it. And here's the thing, I love it. I love the comebacks. I actually was just backstage and found out I'm #1 on Apple Podcasts after they tried. I mean, it's one thing to try to cancel Candace. It's another thing to try to cancel Jesus Christ. That was like unforced error. Well, let me tell you something, America. It does feel so good to go everywhere in the world and to realize that there is awakening, not just happening here. Let me tell you guys, it's happening all across the globe. People are starting to ask the hard questions. And you know you start getting close when they start to call you names. They instantly want to suggest that there's something wrong and there's something backwards about being America first. You're starting to hear the way they're framing that now. When you say you're America first, they'll ask you, what do you mean you're America first? Do you mean that you're an isolationist? Do you believe that we shouldn't have did what we did during World War II, all of these things trying to pollute it? It's not that difficult. America first. First name America, last name first. We put this country's interests before the interests of foreign countries overseas. All of them. I don't care. And suddenly, we're living in a country where we have presidential candidates that get on stage and they're not comfortable with that, right? We're seeing people get on stage left and right and they're not comfortable with the idea of not mining taxpayer dollars and sending them overseas into some black budget so that the state can come back to us and say, we actually have no idea where all the billions went, but good luck feeding your family, right? They're not comfortable. They question you. I had to shut down Piers Morgan a couple of days ago as he was... And they always frame it, like I said, it's just a game of name calling, right? You're isolationist. What was his thing? Oh, well, if you don't support Zelensky, then it must mean you support Putin. You must be a Putin puppet if you don't want to send your billions of dollars, your billions of tax-paying dollars to a corrupted oligarch in Ukraine, because that's exactly what he is. They try to make it seem like there's something wrong with not wanting to fight endless wars. For realizing you wake up and you go, we're fighting all these wars, and our borders are porous. We're defending Zelensky's borders, and we can't defend our own. Are you kidding me? You're going to suggest that there is something wrong with the idea that we want to put our citizens first? And it would be one thing. If we sent our boys overseas and they came back and they were treated well. Look at the way they treat our veterans. Look at the VA. It's a disaster. You mean to tell me that our veterans get one day and the LGBTQLM never-ending alphabet community gets an entire month? Really comprehend how disrespectful that is. Really comprehend what it really means when these journalists come at you and they ask you why you don't worship the LGBTQIA never-ending dyslexic agenda. That's why I'm getting dyslexia. With this alphabet soup community. Everybody's got a problem. Everybody has a feeling. I'm non-binary. I'm a fish today, you know. And I feel like you're not respecting my fish pronouns. And so we're going to need longer than a month. We're going to need an entire quarter to teach people these things. Really think about what it means when you have journalists up there that are lecturing us about pronouns and they don't think about the people that go over and they serve this country. They don't think about the people that fight for our freedoms every single day. It appears to me that they resent the American people. They resent the American people.
It's true what she said about America first. People hear that and they think bad about it, which there's no reason to think bad about it. It's like when they hear MAGA Republican or Make America Great Again, they just think it's a racist term. I don't know where this delusion came from, but it came from somewhere on the left. Look, there's enough problems without us having to worry about any country overseas. Opioid crisis, crazy inflation, a housing market prices that are insane, the southern border, a homeless crisis. There's enough problems at home to take care of first. Take care of your own people, and then you can maybe start worrying about the rest of the world. But these leftists these days, a lot of them, they just hate the West. They hate America. They hate white people. They think everything white is bad and everything traditional in the West is white, so therefore everything traditional is bad. These people are mental cases. Let's get back to the video.
And the answer to why that is because we understand that these are state actors. We understand that these journalists, of course, this dream that we were sold in school, you know, when I was majoring in journalism and learning that the New York Times is a trusted source. You actually learn this if you major in journalism. Like, how do you know if you're looking at real news? Well, if it's the New York Times, it's definitely true. That's what they teach you in school. If it's CNN, it's definitely true. That's actually what you learn as you are studying journalism in school. They want you to be programmed to do the bidding of the state. And when you go through that process and you recognize that these journalists are doing exactly that, they are protecting state interests. They are protecting the interests of a very small few at the expense of all of us. I think the worst thing is that it's not just at the expense of all of us. Now it is at the expense of children, right? Of children. You know, I get it. Sometimes it's hard really to comprehend what it is that the left is doing because they're insane. They're just insane. Every day, it's like they wake up and there's a problem, you know? You have to ask them, is there anything right? Is there anything right in your life? Is there anything you like about this country? Is there anything that's good about this country? No, every day they're arguing about things that we just did not have issues regarding growing up. I mean, who would have ever thought that one day we would be debating bathroom signs? They're not inclusive enough. You know, they're not inclusive enough. Now you go to college campuses and the kids are all being asked to write down all of their pronouns. That's what they're asking kids to do, to respect their pronouns and to make sure that the bathrooms have these preambles on them that say any person or species can go here. And you wonder, how did we get here? How did America get to this place? What are they doing with feminism? Encouraging women to act like men, right? Constantly telling women, brainwashing them in the school system to think that men are awful. The patriarchy is always out to get them. The patriarchy is behind every door. And encouraging women to act like men. Abandon your natural biological instincts. Abandon the concept of wanting to start a family and go climb the corporate ladder. And so women are pursuing those things to their own detriment. Women aren't happy. Women don't want to work 80-hour weeks and to make $35,000 a year just so you can say that you have a career. Because what? Beyonce said, like, you know, some feminist things, and Taylor Swift said some feminist things, and now you're suddenly on some sort of a program, and you haven't even stopped to look up and actually think about what it is that provides you value and what makes you happy. And then feminism is simultaneously telling our men to act like women? Does that make any sense? Have more feelings. Cry more. Comprehend toxic masculinity. All of these fruity phrases, right? There's something inherently wrong with being a man. Stop doing that thing when you're acting like men. That's what they're saying, right? And then you have them constantly working on our children in the classrooms. And this really is a thing that women have got to understand. The big mistake of letting the state step into our households and decide that they're going to raise our children. Free school, they said. Education, everybody deserves an education. That was the pitch. The fact of the matter is we've never handed out more degrees in our society. We've never produced dumber kids. And I'm talking about actually factually dumber kids, mathematically speaking, in terms of their English writing. These are the dumbest kids that we've ever produced. That's a fact. I was saying earlier to a group of kids, go back, do yourself a favor, just Google it. Go read one of the letters that like an 18-year-old soldier wrote during the Civil War when he was just writing to his mom back at home. It sounded like poetry. These kids today can't even write sentences, right? They can't even write sentences. And you have the majority of kids right now, I think it's 40% actually, not the majority, 40% of kids in America cannot pass a basic literacy exam. And yet we're handing out tons of degrees. We're actually we're saying, okay, well, now if they get a 70%, let's just call that a B. They're getting rid of AP classes and honors courses, right? They want everybody to feel good, even though they don't know anything. And you need to understand this because that is the beginning of everything. What they're actually doing, and pay attention really close, is they're recreating slavery. They're recreating slavery.
Universities these days, as we know, they teach an ideology. They're not teaching people how to think critically. I think you should keep politics out of university. You should teach facts, teach both sides. These teachers in university, these woke teachers that push a certain ideology. I don't care if you're right or left, you shouldn't push your ideology on students. Teach them how to think critically. Teach them about history and facts, and hopefully they're smart enough to make up their own decisions. All these people graduating with these silly degrees, getting thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. How much does it cost to go to university in the US right now? About $30,000 a year, and they end up with something like Candace talks about it, a gender studies degree. As somebody who runs two businesses very successfully, there's never been a time where we had an issue that I thought, man, if only we had a gender study majors here to help us. That never happened, ever. If you're a young man today listening to this, unless you want to be like a doctor or an engineer, most things you can learn for yourself. You don't need to go to university for it. Learn a trade. You can make a ton of money in trades and you won't end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Learn a trade, learn about marketing, learn about business. You can start your own business. Trades make a killing anyway. You join a union, you can make a boatload of money. Learn how to lower your taxable income. Incorporate intelligent protective structures into your life so you can protect your wealth and protect your assets. Trade school is not that expensive. You go for a year or two. A few years after that, you can be making a lot of money. You can own your house, and your friends that you graduated high school with, they're still in university or graduating university. They know nothing. They have no work, and they're in debt to their eyeballs for a lesbian dance degree. Absolutely no sense. Let's get back to it.
There is a reason that the slave codes, inherent in the slave codes, was the inability. You were not allowed to teach a slave how to learn to read. Why? Think about that. Why? Why was that such an important slave code that even if you were a slave owner and you were caught teaching a slave how to read, you were punished? What was the reason? Because an educated mind cannot be enslaved. The state knows that. So their initiative is, how do I make you think, this is what the state is doing, how do I make you think you're the most educated person in the world when in fact you know nothing? You don't know how to take care of yourself. You don't even know what gender you are, right? You don't even know what gender you are. You've been in school. You've got all these degrees. They're feeling so confident. I majored in gender studies for 4 years, paid $100,000. I majored in gender studies. I majored in feminist dance theory. 4 years. I'm so smart. I know all about feminist dance theory. Here's a degree. Okay, here's a degree. And what happens is these kids get out in the world and they know nothing. They can't survive. These kids don't know how to work with their hands. They don't know how to change a light bulb. These kids are convinced that they are so brilliant because they're holding a meaningless piece of paper, and they don't even know how to change a tire. And what automatically happens is they start to resent the people that do. You want to talk about why there are constantly these depictions of people in the South, conservatives. Oh, they're backwards, they're white, they're racist. The people in the South, they're not like the New York City latte sipping writers who write hit pieces about Candace Owens. No, he's so brilliant. How am I going to get her today? This is how they act, and they think they know everything. These people can't survive. They're slaves. They don't even know they're slaves. They don't even know. Greatest example of that is COVID. Man, if that was not a psychological test on America. Psychological test. And I'll tell you what it was about. I'll tell you what it was about. It was about the government trying to see if they had successfully created a system where people would believe they were God. God. Literally. They were just like, let's just make stuff up and see if people abide by our ridiculous commandments. Commandment number 1, 6 feet social distancing. I said, no way people are going to do this. Suddenly I went into the grocery store and I was watching people do this on the pads. Walking around like robots on the pads. God forbid you forgot something, right? You couldn't go backwards. You had to go all the way back around. You're like, just a cereal I was just going to grab. The person behind you's looking like, no. I'm like, surely this is not real. And they had the mask policies that made entirely no sense. You're on a plane. They're like, well, if you're 2, you don't need a mask. If you're 3, you do. I'm like, okay, wait, no, I'm sorry. Can you explain the science? Doesn't matter. Get kicked out of the plane. You'll be banned for life if you don't abide by these mask mandates. Suddenly they're saying to people, don't go see your family on Thanksgiving. No. Government really testing you, right? Do you love your family more than you trust the government? Trust the experts? Trust Fauci? Trust the state? And sure enough, people got in line. And then they wanted to see if you would give them your bodily autonomy. Would you make a sacrifice, you know? If we said it enough times, if we got enough of our little mockingbirds to just keep repeating these phrases, a true experiment in mass brainwashing, would you do it? Wear a mask, save lives. Don't go see your grandma. Stay home, save lives. And people were doing this. You should always pause and reflect on what a great evil that was done with the mainstream media complicit in this evil to allow people to die alone, to allow people to have side effects from vaccines, the censorship that took place online, people that were trying to communicate some of the side effects so people could at least make reasonable decisions, decide if they wanted to take the risk and get the vaccine. They weren't even allowing speech. Let me tell you something right now. Whoever it is that is calling for speech to be censored is a liar, okay? A liar. I don't care what the subject is. You should be allowed to hear the debate. I do not care who the person is. You should be allowed to hear what they say because you know what? You're smart enough to understand what you are listening to. You don't need the government to censor ideas for you. The government is not your God. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The government has very much become the devil in our lives. And speaking to that point, because now that we understand what it is that they are actually attacking, when you look around and you're wondering, what are all of these things that connect these various topics? COVID, you've got the freaking environmental lobby, right? The kids skipping school because they think the planet's going to die in 10 years. Because they don't know it. They tell us all the planet's going to die in 10 years, right? We were all told in school we were going to die in 10 years. Global warming, global cooling, the ozone layer, acid rain. You know, they kind of pick a thing and then it doesn't happen. And then they just pick another thing. Trust the science, trust the experts, la, 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 we got it. And you wonder, what's that got to do with the trans agenda? What's that got to do with the LGBTQIA never-ending month, the non-binary fishes that are walking around? What's that got to do with COVID? What's that got to do with the bathroom signs? What's that got to do with feminism? And the answer is simple. Family. The government is trying to destroy and corrupt the biggest guard against the government, stable families. My friend Jack Posobiec often says something, and it's true. You want to be a rebel? Start a family. Start a big family. Have kids. Get married. Right? That's the truth. You revisit those topics and you realize they are telling these kids who are afraid that the planet is going to be over, that it would be irresponsible for them to have kids. That's what's at the end of that ideology. Trust the government, give us your money, we'll fix the planet, you give us your tax dollars, we'll fix the temperature somehow. and don't have kids because the planet's going to be over in 10 years. To the feminists, they say, well, look at the patriarchy. Wouldn't you rather just be a lesbian, right? To men, like they're suddenly making women something that men don't desire. They're making men something women don't desire. Listen, fellas, I love you. But when you cry all the time, maybe one sad tear at your daughter's graduation, one lone tear. But now you've got these men and they don't know how to lead. There is no strength because they're making masculinity a dirty word. And let me tell you something right now. There is no society that can survive without strong men. None. And the other half of that equation is understanding that women, these men are not our opposites. These are our brothers. These are our fathers. These are the men that we marry. We raise these men up. They are our sons. We cannot lose the opportunity to stand up for men because it's going to take women understanding that men and masculinity and manhood are under attack for a reason. It is because the government knows the risk of what it means when there is a masculine society. Who do you think it is that is going to protect us from the government? Joe Biden casually said, I'm not kidding, the other day, casually said about guns. He said, doesn't really matter. I don't know why these conservatives want to keep their guns. By the way, I'm speaking English. He kind of mumbled. Mumble. But the point he got out was, who cares about guns? You guys would need F-15s, he said, if you wanted to stand up against the government. Boy, I'll tell you, I must have purchased 10 more guns that day. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Women, be feminine. Men, be masculine. Understand that the goal is to pollute us from coming together so that we can establish families. And to both women and men, when you do come together and you do start a family, for the love of God, put Christ first. This is our country. I will leave you with this. Correct. And we're going to lead out on that chant. This is our country. America is a country that was founded on Christian principles, right? And they understood that. They understood that. And let me tell you something right now. If you think that the full weight of the government is after Trump, you would be right. But understand that the full weight of the government, Trump is just one step. They've always been after Jesus Christ. Christ is King. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Guys, if you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing to the channel, help it grow, leave a thumbs up on the video. Really would help your boy out. Let's get back to the video. We live in a time of weak men. That's why a lot of this shit is happening. If men were still strong, it's like that, that famous quote, we're in the weak men part of that quote right now. And it's a growing problem in today's society. Men are not masculine. Now, you hear about toxic masculinity. It's not masculinity that's toxic. It's the lack of it. When men embrace their masculinity in a way that is healthy, that is productive, they're leaders, they're warriors, they're heroes. People can depend on them. They're fathers, brothers. When they deny their masculinity, though, they run away from responsibility. And nothing good comes from that. Despair and destruction, that's it. That's the only thing that comes from men avoiding responsibility. And you can see the consequences everywhere of this. 1 in 4 fathers lives apart from their children. I think now is 1 in 3. And it's a fact that children that grow up without a dad at home are more depressed than ones that have a mother and a father at home. They're more at risk of teen pregnancy, high school dropout, incarceration. The same masculine traits what these leftists don't understand is the same traits that bring destruction are also the ones that like defeat tyranny. The same traits that foster greed also build economies. The traits that drive men to do these foolish, stupid things, take risks like that, they're the same traits that make men take heroic risks. This stupid devaluation of masculinity in society, that won't end well because feminine passive men don't stop evil. Passive men don't defend, they don't protect, they don't provide. Passive men don't lead, just like Candace was saying. Passive men don't do the things that we need men to do in society in order to thrive. C.S. Lewis has a great quote in The Abolition of Man, where he describes the tension between cerebral man and visceral man. And he says that by his intellect, a man is mere spirit, and by his appetite, mere animal. We need both. Take away one and you're left with a man who is either weak or wicked. And in a world of wickedness, weak men are nothing more than enablers of wicked men. And this is what we're seeing in today's world. And women out there, like real women, they want a real man as a man they can count on, look up to. And no amount of freaking feminist theory is going to change that. I don't know one woman at any age who's attracted to a passive, weak man who looks to her to provide and make the decision, be a protector, be a leader. This doesn't happen. Every woman I know wants a responsible man, a strong man, somebody that could protect and provide. Candace is right. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash that thumbs up button. Consider subscribing to the channel. Help it grow. I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.